Good evening, gentlemen. Here we are again. I've got some of the boards, prototype boards, from the fabricator. So we should look at them a little bit. Focus, you piece of shit. Oh, the autofocus on this thing does not work very well anymore. The manual focus is very not precise. So here is here's the new version of the backplane. I moved the ATX connector in this way a little bit so that the power cables on these Pico ATX power supplies wouldn't be crowded as close to the edge of the case in these tiny cases. And this one has the actual like correct power circuitry on it that my friend Amardeep designed, and it works fine. I did use LS logic in the prototype here. It needs HC series logic because LS logic, the inputs fuck up the RC time scales of the RC timers on this thing that make the power switch timing work right. So like when the thing's off, see these ATX cases, you know, you only get one button on these things, right? So the idea here is the first one I designed using an AT-Tiny 85 microcontroller, which was fine, but that's not the old school. Focus, you son of a bitch! But that's not like the old school way to do it, you know what I'm saying? So we got to talking on Discord, and he was like, yeah, I'll do that. It seems like fun, so he did. He's way smarter than I am. So the idea here is like when it's off, you push the power button once and it powers up, alright? And then while it's powered on, like briefly pushing the power button does a reset, acts like pushing the reset button, right? But then if you hold in the power button for like 3 seconds, it powers the machine off. And that's working fine on his breadboard, but I didn't have any HC series logic, and I used LS logic, and that fucks up the time scales on the RC circuits. So I'm going to have to get some HC. It needs a 74HC or HCT 14 right here, and I know I've got one in something somewhere that I can take out. In my box I've only got LS logic as far as 14s go anyway. So, oh well, anyway, yeah, so there's that. And this is the CPU card that I ordered from the fabricator. I'm not even going to assemble this because I've already changed the design. This one originally had a supervisor IC on it that I'm getting rid of. The only reason that was on there was because I wanted to battery back the RAM. And when the CPU first comes up, when the power supply is in an unstable state, it can do weird shit to the bus that can fuck up the contents of RAM, and the supervisor IC like sits in between the MemRequest signal between the CPU and the bus and keeps MemRequest from being asserted until power stabilizes and the CPU is reset correctly. But that's kind of overkill. I decided not to have battery-backed RAM because that's just a dumb idea. We're all using like solid-state storage these days that's like super fast anyway, so there's not really any reason to have battery-backed RAM. So I got rid of that and instead replaced it with a memory management unit that'll allow the Z180 to address 8 megabytes of RAM instead of just 1 megabyte. And I thought about going ahead and assembling this just to make sure that there's nothing else wrong that might have like migrated into the new design to cause confuculation later, but there's really nothing to it. It's just like the CPU connects to the bus, and then there's this header for all of the two built-in serial port. Well, the two built-in serial ports and the funny bit bang serial port that can be used for I2C. But that's what that header's for. But yeah, there's nothing to it. I don't think I'm even going to assemble this one. I've got my Steve Cousins CPU card down there to use for the moment. But then this is the prototype of the VGA terminal and bus monitor card, and I ended up splitting this into two separate cards. I had originally used a bunch of pins on the ESP32 module for generating a VGA signal and working with a PS2 keyboard, as well as doing audio output for beeps and stuff like that. This is way overkill for beeps, though. That's like a series of low-pass filters and an op amp and stuff for the audio amplifier. But, you know, we can make very pleasant beeps with it, right? But I'd used a bunch of pins for that, and then I'd used all of these I2C IO expanders for actually interfacing with the bus, right? And so there were only a couple of pins left on the ESP32 that I could directly interface to the bus, and I wanted to be able to generate interrupts in the ESP32 firmware off of various bus pins, but I didn't have enough pins to do that, so I ended up like generating interrupts with the I2C IO expanders, and then I was going to have this thing assert weight directly onto the bus itself as soon as it got an interrupt from any of this stuff, and that would give it time to, you know, read the registers out of the IO expanders and set the bus up how it needed to, and then release weight. But that seemed janky, and I didn't think it was going to work very well, so I ended up just splitting this into two boards. The idea being that, like, during development you can use the ESP32 module as a bus monitor, and then when you've got everything put together and it's working, you can pull it out and plug it into the VGA serial terminal card. So the only part of this that I actually populated was the serial terminal part of it. There's a VGA header right here, and a keyboard header right here, and a PC speaker header right here. So I haven't tested this yet. I need to actually write the firmware. But I haven't even put it in a motherboard yet. I've got to put some connectors on this new board and put it in the case and all that stuff. I think it's going to be a nice little board, though. We've got sorry about all the glare, but got like a nice little prototyping area down here, and power along the top and ground along the bottom, and a nice old school power control circuit using discrete logic. The way that he came up with doing that with just Schmidt trigger inverters and a flip-flop is pretty cool. I think you're going to enjoy looking at the schematic for that. I would have never thought of that. But yeah, an ATX power, and it fits right in these nice little cases. I think this is going to make for a nice... It'll make for a nice little CPM or Z system, even if none of my CPU cards and shit actually work. The backplane will be nice anyway. Anyhow, so that's where that is. I've got to get an HC or HCT 14 out of something. I gotta have one in something around here that I can take out and swap with one of these LS 14s and then use in here. I'll have to keep looking. Anyway, bye. Oh, but so yeah, I almost forgot about this. I don't know, I don't think I showed this to you guys in the last video, but this is the mass storage controller that I kind of sort of designed-ish using the CH376, a pair of them. It's a a parallel interface USB mass storage interface chip. It can actually be used as like a generic like USB host as well. So like you could, if you had a software driver in CPM for it, you could like attach a USB keyboard to one of these two. So I may look into doing that as well. I don't know, but initially it's going to just be for USB thumb drives. You can set the I/O base up here, and it's got like a USB header on it, not like built-in ports, because like these cases, you know, they've all got like built-in USB. This is a USB 3, but I got this little adapter that goes to USB, whatever it is, USB 2, for the purposes of this thing, right? So that'll give us something to do with the built-in USB ports in those cases, and then there's the laid out board. It does have a couple of surface mount components on here. The CH376 is only available in surface mount packages, and these are SOIC packages. They're not hard to solder. I think it'll be fine. They're easy to hand solder. They're like the easiest surface mount component there is to hand solder, I think. So hopefully that won't be too big a deal. So here's, you know, it's got the two USB controllers on it, and the oscillator cans won't be that big in the actual length card. They'll just be like real short, you know. It'll be fine. And then it's got an LED for both drives, and then an LED that lights up for both of them, and a header up here to set the I/O base, and a couple of little integrated fuses here that don't have like 3D models for the footprint, but those are for the USB power on each port. So anyway, yeah, so that's the USB storage controller. I think that'll be nice, and when I get the boards for that, that will make the system much more usable. I haven't ordered them yet. I want to test the backplane and the VGA terminal stuff a little bit before I order more boards, but then I'll order this and the updated CPU board, which I need to finish laying out. It's being a pain in the ass. Oh, excuse me, to fit that memory management unit into. In fact, I've probably got it here. Yeah, let's just open it and look at it. How about that? Hopefully there's nothing super weird here. Yeah, this is it, I think. Yeah. So there's the CPU plus MMU. It uses 3 ICs to select 512K banks. So the Z180 has 1 megabyte address space, so this lets us page any 512K block of 8 megabytes into either the lower 512K, and then the upper 512K is always fixed to RAM page 1. So yeah, that's how that works, and it's been kind of a pain in the ass to lay out. I don't even know. Yeah, I don't have any traces on here or anything. It's painful. I may have to make the board longer. There is just not enough space to get all of the tracks arranged how they need to be. I've tried many different orientations of components, and I can't fit it all on there like that. I can't make the card any taller, or it won't fit into these little small form factor cases. The cards as they are just short enough to fit in there with the cover on. So if I do anything, I'll have to make it a little longer. I think that'll be fine. I guess we'll see. I need to try a little harder to route these. I was trying to use an auto router on part of it because I'm lazy, but I'm going to just have to lay the whole thing out by hand, I think. These CPU cards are challenging to lay out. The RCBus was laid out with the Z80 processor in mind, I think. The Z180, like, there's no there's no good way to position it on the board so that you can get all the signals to the bus without crossing over a bunch of shit. It's not easy. I did it before when I didn't have this extra logic from 8 megabyte memory management unit, but just adding that stuff makes it dense enough that it's so hard to fit. And I don't want to go to a 4-layer board, although if I did go to a 4-layer board, it would probably be a lot better shielded and quieter at higher speed, but then again, you know, like, it would be going out over the bus to RAM anyway, so it probably doesn't make a shit. I don't know. Anyway, that's all that stuff. Bye for real this time.